What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, delarose.com. That's DELARROZ.com. Go to my newsletter in the link below and get a free graphic novel. And for signing up for my newsletter. Appreciate it. All right, this is Hulk by Peter David, Volume 2, Omnibus. It is a monster of a book. And here's the spine, which aligns with the first volume of this. Cover as you see. I don't remember if this is the direct market variant or not, but I just get the one that I like the cover better, is how I do that when there's two different covers. And this collects 369 through 400, so 31 issues of the, 32 issues of the main series. You get 3 annuals, 16 through 18. X Factor 76, where it's just a part of a storyline that goes on and continues in X Factor there, and then the holiday special number 2. So this is it, and I guess I should show the inside. This is they actually print some awesome stuff on the interiors now, and you get a Hulk front and back on this version. They didn't used to do that. They used to have them pretty plain, and so I like this little change. A blue paper in here. I don't know why they didn't use green, but I didn't know I liked Peter David's Hulk prior to this. Let's get this laying out a little better. I didn't really enjoy the Las Vegas storyline here. Beautiful table of contents. And until Volume 2, he really leaves Las Vegas at this point, and he is still the Gray Hulk at the beginning of this, but this starts to change, which changes the whole mood and way that this book kind of goes. Yeah, the Las Vegas thing just bugged me. I don't know. I have something about comics when characters get married, they invariably find a way to unmarry the characters, and it just kind of bothers me that they do that to every single character in comics. And the Hulk got married right before Peter David's run, and then he gets blown up, and then he becomes this Gray Hulk and starts schmoozing around with this gal Marlo in Las Vegas, and that just kind of rubbed me wrong. So I couldn't get into the first volume all that well. I also really was not a huge fan of the art. I'm not really all that into Todd McFarlane, or Eric Larson was a little better, and then there were a couple, clones of Todd McFarlane in there that just weren't as good. But we get David Keown, I think that's how you pronounce it, on almost the entire volume here, and he's much better to me also. So we get to see the Hulk on the run here. As is going on, this is the Freedom Force, the Blob and Mystique and a couple others at this era in time actually have a super team at this, and they're on the team, or they're good guys at this point. Get a annual issue as it kind of summarizes some events, and we get this character who shows up. She's like an alien or something, and she thinks that people want to kill themselves, and she helps them, quote. She turns somebody into a monster, and it's actually from the monster's perspective. It's kind of a little twisty thing, not so much. It was interesting though. And we're still in. I guess we get some top 10 brawls. We get a. This is a script by Alan Grant, and then a story by Dan Reed in here. So you get a little bit of outside stuff from Samson's perspective, as Samson's chasing after the Hulk during this. So Hulk gets in with Doctor Strange here, which is pretty fun. He's searching for Betty at this point. We get some Ditko-esque Strangescapes. Is that a word? I don't know. By David Keown here. David Keown? I don't know. But I really like it. He's got the beautiful eye on the amulet. He does such a really good job of all of this. I just enjoyed it a lot more than the first volume. But there's this weird, darkness creature, and it inhabits the Hulk, and then the Hulk becomes that. And we actually get into, Banner's headscape in these next volumes. There's going to be a lot of that. And I gotta say, another thing that I just hate as tropes of science fiction and comic books is when you're in a character's head, and they're having conversations in the head as if it's like a real thing. And it's done here, and it didn't bother me as much as a lot of other ones, I guess because of the split personality between Banner and the Hulk and the Gray Hulk. It gets kind kind of interesting and funky. Now Betty has joined a convent, which is pretty funny. I guess Peter David just did that for humor's sake, maybe. And Banner comes and tries to find her, and hears her confess her sins, and he thinks that she hates him, so he gets really upset. And then for some reason, and it's because of that last issue where he had interacted with that darkness being, he becomes this Green Hulk and hulks out. And the Green Hulk is now back. And you see that there's a couple different voices in his head kind of talking here as he's trying to gain control. So this gets very interesting, and we get a nice little reunion with Betty. So this also just made me happier. I think I needed this in order to enjoy the run, to be honest. And so they still have... there's a lot of tension in here in the relationship. It's not hunky-dory, but like it's just made me a lot happier to see that rather than the split off we had before. So good stuff. And now we get into the Hulk's head, and the Gray Hulk is trying to contain the Green Hulk inside his head. They're chasing after him, trying to find him. The Gray Hulk pops back out. So we're getting a lot of these like different kinds of Hulks out here, and it's very intriguing stuff all the way through. And just to remind you, Rick Jones exists. He's just not involved. So Peter David's inventing a way to get him back into the game here. And this is a really great storyline. This was one of my favorites. Rick Jones gets kind of kidnapped by these, it turns out that they're Skrulls. It's a very Steve Ditko-esque panel right here. You see the way that the eyes are done by David Keown here. That's I like that too. All right. And yeah, it's the Super Skrull controlling this stuff, and they've got this underground base, and they're trying to figure out, basically they got Rick Jones because they want to figure out because he was with Captain Marvel for a while, and they want to get that cosmic power out of him. And the Hulk eventually shows up, and bye-bye, Skrulls. That's the end of that. But again, we get right back into some internal Hulk-on-Hulk action here. And it ends up hanging out with Doc Samson as a shrink. And they go and deal with their inner demons in here. Very early 90s psychology, Dr. Phil kind of storyline. Peter David does have a couple dated moments in here. But when he rolls out again, he's Bruce Banner, but he is the Hulk. And this is kind of neat because it changes the Hulk from, Hulk smash, Hulk is the strongest there is, kind of dumb Hulk, to a Green Hulk where he is, and this is a Christmas interlude. So we had that end there, and this is just like, it's a fill-in. We got Bill Jaska on pencils, but he does an okay job. This is a really cute story. I really enjoyed this. It is, the Hulk and Rhino are fighting at Christmas, and they both kind of stop because they don't want to ruin the kids' Christmas. And that is just super cute to me. All right, back to the main storyline of the Hulk, dealing with his inner conflict personality. And so he's a more aggressive version of Banner. So he's got Banner's smarts, he's got the Hulk's brawn, and he's got anger issues now. And now we get introduced this which is going to dominate the rest of the series for a long time here. A group called the Pantheon. And there's a character called Ajax and Atlanta, who's a gal who just shoots a magical bow, and a bunch of others. And they're characters who are starting this pod world, which is all self-contained and away from humanity, trying to do things better, and I guess, but there's something off about them. And this is interesting here. You get an assassin who's a few cards of a full deck, Crazy 8. Peter David's actually involved in a publishing company called Crazy 8 Publishing. So there's something he wanted to insert that in here. But the Hulk gets kidnapped by this group. And this Crazy 8 thing is another fill-in issue. Maybe they needed time to catch up with this Bill Jaska guy. And this is entirely a backstory for Doc Samson, which is great. Again, for these filler issues to exist and not be boring to me and not feel like I wasted my time on them is a big feat, because those don't usually exist in comics. But you learn a lot about Doc Samson. You start to care about him at this point, which is nice. We get back into it. Hulk is kidnapped, and we meet kind of the people behind this whole Pantheon thing, and we learn their deal. I love this. This is a very Jack Kirby-esque cutout of their little Pantheon base in here. We're only halfway through the Omnibus already. Hit the like and subscribe button if you have not already. Really great stuff. And the Hulk has his problems with them, and of course Betty is wanting some distance at this point, and there's just some weird interactions between everybody. Betty cuts her hair, and Marlo accidentally dyes it green. It was really funny. And first, Marlo moves in with Betty as her roommate now, and Marlo is now dating Rick Jones. So there's very soap opera-y elements to it, which I also enjoy. Good stuff. Now Rick Jones is back and part of the Friends. They're all kind of living in Reno, and we get the Hulk dealing with the Abomination here. And this is getting into Infinity Gauntlet. So in between all of these issues, I guess Hulk pops into the Infinity Gauntlet scenario and then pops back out, and there's something off. And at the end of this one, he's only 6 inches tall when he comes back, and he actually whispers in the Abomination's ear and makes him like a like he's his conscience or whatever, and the Abomination listens to him. It's just very good character stuff in this, which was very fun. The whole world's gone crazy because of the Infinity Gauntlet at this point, and the Hulk deals with some evil. I actually liked the crossovers. This is not a bad crossover, and if you didn't read the Infinity Gauntlet, you didn't really need to. It's just kind of one-offs in the middle here. At this point, we have the Pantheon is sending Hulk on missions to go, and like I said, the art's consistent all the way through here, which is awesome. And at this point, he goes to Israel or some place near Israel or something like that, and there he's dealing with a kid who is prophesized to become literally Hitler. So kind of like a thing that's like overdrawn and cringy at this point. I don't know if it's cringy back in 1990. I was too young to notice that sort of thing. But the Pantheon wants to kill him, and the Hulk, is like trying to stop it, or some of the Pantheon is trying to kill him. It's kind of a split between. It turns out it's a test from the guy. We got this like Jewish superhero gal. I don't know where she's from, or if Peter David just invented her, but she goes toe to toe with the Hulk for some reason. I don't know why. And they eventually deal with that moral crisis, and of course don't kill the kid. So we get another annual crossover. This is the Subterranean Wars, and basically there's a bunch of subterranean empires, right? Well, there's like the Mole Man and a couple others, and they're all kind of battling, and they actually bring in Hulk to deal with things at this point. Get some cheesecake. Marlo and Betty in this one, and it kind of revolves around them. There's some cute humor through this annual, but yeah, those annual crossovers are all right. They're just all right. And we get some backup stories, of course. Then we get back into our Pantheon stuff. All right. And we get this new villain here who they're fighting. We get an issue that crosses over with Man-Thing for some reason. Also some more cheesecake. And they mistake a villain for Man-Thing. It's kind of odd one-off there. And then we get into a trilogy where they send Hulk into a war zone. And basically, it's interesting because the U.S. is kind of allied with them. So you get this impression that the U.S. foreign policy, you get a little commentary on that. But the Hulk goes after him anyway. And so X Factor goes to hunt the Hulk down. And because nobody else can stop him. And that gets to be pretty fun. Peter David was writing X Factor at this point, so it's a good crossover since he writes both volumes. It wasn't really a contrived crossover like a lot of them are these days. That's where we get an issue of X Factor. So you get to learn a little bit about them. They're going after the Hulk. Eventually they find out that the guy's a real bad guy, and they want to shut him down. And they kind of it's pretty nasty. They kind of leave him to his people who he's been oppressing, and they aren't nice to him at the end of it. It's kind of a commentary on Saddam in a lot of ways, but very, very interesting that people really wanted to take out Saddam in the early 90s, versus if you look into the mid-2000s, you'll get kind of the opposite commentary, often by the same people. But let's see. This is another Hulk Oh yeah, the 30th anniversary issues. So we get into this, and we get these long Hulk deals with some backup stories and all that going on along with it, and we get this the Hulk fighting this Russian spy out of his past, who I guess is partially responsible for the Gamma Bomb. It kind of retcons the origin to say that he could have stopped it but didn't, and he was spying on things and trying to retrieve that Gamma technology at the time, and the Hulk has to deal with killing him, or he wants to kill him, but he eventually doesn't, because you know what, he's a hero. So, interesting stuff. And our backup story here, Grudge Match. For this guy, this is a cute backup story. This guy keeps on wanting to kill the Hulk and getting out of jail, and the Hulk has no idea who he is every single time he goes after him. You get these classic Hulk battles in here. Psychological ramifications of gamma radiation. This is a cute backup thing, which just goes through the entire Hulk history, kind of in text. So good stuff. And then we get back into the normal series again. So... And this time, the Pantheon is out in the snow. She's chasing after, I forget, that's Atlanta. She's chasing after this old foe of hers or whatnot who is in love with her. And Hulk goes to rescue her, and the rest of the Pantheon does also. And they do that. The Return of the Defenders, Part 1, annual. This is fun because the Hulk was a part of the original Defenders. And we get this nice little arm wrestling scene with the Thing at the beginning. There's this whole deal about like how the Defenders are not allowed to get back together, or the world's going to end, or something, as a prophecy or something like that. But I guess that somebody in there kind of says it's false, actually, and they can get back together. The art in this is not my favorite. As you can see, there's a big quality drop with a lot of just straightforward talking stuff going down. But they mostly get back together through this. The Silver Surfer's still kind of off in the middle of it, but it stops and I guess goes into Namor annual after that. I've never read that entire storyline. I read the whole Subterranean Wars before and can vouch for that, but that's pretty interesting to me. I'd be interested in reading a little bit more about that. Of course, we get some backup material here because it's an annual. It's tough to love annuals sometimes because they do too much backup material with these side characters kind of just like doing little vignettes that aren't that useful. You get a whole Return of the Defenders summary. I didn't read it because I'm eventually just going to read these comics together when they're all collected, and I can find them in order, and that'll be more fun. Hulk comes back to Las Vegas to deal with a mobster that's taking things down, and teams up with the Punisher this time. All right. This is a 2-issue thing, and Doc Ock shows up for a little bit. And, of course, they take down the mobsters. There's, of course, the superhero battle, because you got to do that between the Punisher and the Hulk, but they then realize they're on the same team. That always happens. And this gets to where I actually stopped reading. So the reason I stopped reading here is the Ghost of the Past storyline actually starts out in an Epic collection. I'm going to do an Epic collection review. They have every Epic collection, then goes through the rest of Peter David's run at this point. I think there might be one Epic collection left to print, or maybe all of it's out. But there's like 5 of them, so I'm just going to plow through those Epic collections and read the rest of it, starting here. Ghost of the Past is the one that is out as of this Omnibus, so you can go look for that if you want to get a review of the rest of the book here. But just a couple more issues left. And of course, the 400th anniversary. We have an anniversary at 393 and an anniversary at 400. They love these super deals, and then of course they're like silly covers that they do along with it. And we get some fun little extras at the back here, which are a lot of fun to read. Cool. Overall, I just enjoyed this omnibus so much. I didn't love the first one, as I mentioned, but this solidified me as I'm excited to read the rest of Peter David's run. I know they are coming out with a volume 3 also, so depending on when you watch this, maybe that's out, and maybe you won't be getting the Epic collections, but you'll be getting that. But I got these in hardcover, basically because my son's really into the Hulk, so I figured I'd grab that for him. And then I can plow through those Epic collections, so I can read almost all of the Hulk run from its inception through the whole Onslaught deal. Great stuff. 9 out of 10. There's a couple stories that were just kind of duds, and sometimes Peter David's writing just gets into like a little rut where he just really gets enamored with his own jokes, I would say, which is all right. But for the most part, very solid, lots of character development. I love the David Keown's art compared to the art before, and I'm glad it's so consistent throughout all of this. That's so exciting to have that much consistent art. I'd rather have consistent art than 2 issues of Jim Lee and then 10 issues of stuff that's not good, right? It just makes everything way better. So, yep, enjoy this. High recommend, and enjoy your day, everybody. Hit that like and subscribe button, as I mentioned before. Leave a comment if you've read this run before or if you're getting this. Would love to hear from you guys. See ya.